Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome aboard the MAX Afterburner podcast, sponsored by the No Fallen Heroes Project Foundation, all of the above. I got a sticky booger today, man. This guy, backed by popular demand. If you're a listener, longtime listener, first-time caller, to this podcast, our next guest, you got to go back to episodes 38 through 41. To check out this guest, his initial groundwork, his suffering, his everything, and then him joining us today is a very special treat. So, Slider, how you doing, my brother?
Thanks, Whiz. I'm doing pretty well, thank you. How you doing?
You look good, man. You look thinner. You look lighter. You look good.
Yeah, the pounds are melting away. You know, with the benzo, with the taper and the withdrawal, which was many years. I bulked up to 255, and not in the good way. So I just weighed myself yesterday. I'm down to 205, and I'm not doing anything crazy, man.
Holy shit!
I'm just starting to feel better. I'm thinking better. I'm happier. I'm more motivated, and it just works. I'm getting back to living my life, so,
dude.
Medicines.
That makes my heart smile, man. So I've come to the conclusion, Slider, that God is a genius, right? Because upon reflection, if you and I were like a crew in a Hornet or a Tomcat, we wouldn't be doing this podcast today. But thankfully, God is great, and we are doing this podcast for incredible reasons. So again, if you're new, you got to go get Slider's background, because I don't want to recover all that stuff. And make sure you can watch these podcasts now on the No Fallen Heroes YouTube page. So if you're working out and stuck in traffic, you can listen on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, whatever it is, Spotify, iHeart, Stitcher. But if you want to see how ugly Slider and I are together, make sure you go to the No Fallen Heroes YouTube page, subscribe, and make sure you like this video. So, all right, we're going to get into this because I reached out to my brother the other day. He's not going to reveal sources and methods, unlike some in the administration, because Slider has stepped into some other medicine, and I do my reading, I do my research, and, in the medicine work that Slider and I are doing to help save and change, first of all, put the mask on yourself first, but after Slider and I saved and changed us first, we're looking to help other people. And I get this question often, Ibogaine or Iboga, it's just like ayahuasca, or it's not like ayahuasca or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, no, I have no clue. So I got Slider back today, and we're going to kind of split this up maybe in half, bro. I want you to kind of give us your the medicine calling you to ayahuasca, the experience itself, break, differences. What do they call it between when you transition from the Tomcat to the Hornet? What do they call it? Differences training or something? Whatever. Transition whatever.
Transition.
Cat 3 or something like that. So he's going to break, and then he's going to go, okay, Iboga versus ayahuasca. So, brother, the floor is yours. Tell me about your journey. Let's break from Iboga, and then you kind of feel the ayahuasca call.
Yeah. Okay. So, if you've listened to those other podcasts, I was completely clueless about this stuff. I heard your initial debrief, and boom, this crazy thing, Ibogaine, I'd never heard of. As a desperate guy, off we went to Mexico, and it was a life changer, but big time.
Well,
big time
episode, so. What is it, 41? The infamous Slider shoots love all over the room. That one, you can watch that or listen to it around your kids. It's just a marketing title, but he did, and here you are, man.
Yeah. So, you have an experience like that, and it can, it really opens you up to, well, what the hell just happened? I went to another reality and experienced love and healing and clarity. I discovered something about the fabric of the universe. What is God? The nature of consciousness. Now we're getting into quantum physics. I'm exploring world religions. I'm into the Vedas now, the Upanishads, and I'm just trying to figure this stuff out. There's just a whole world that the typical knuckle dragger fighter guy probably isn't aware of. And it's a good thing we're getting people there. By the way, I still have, one or two guys reaching out to me a week. They hear these podcasts. They want help. They need to find their way around.
Yeah.
And that's, more drive for my exploration of all this knowledge. And, I want to encourage people to tell their stories because, we, as military guys, as fighter guys in particular, we tend to be very private about this stuff. We must show nothing but strength all the time. Weakness is not acceptable. But you know what? If you're struggling after your service, it's helpful to hear these stories. So I would encourage people to just get out there, man. I was really apprehensive about all that. And it's turned out to be a great thing. It's been therapeutic for me.
Correct.
To get all that stuff out. But the number of people, I know you see it even more, all of us do. People want help. And so they're coming to us. So, tell these stories.
Yep.
One of the things when someone comes and, I'll state right up front, I am far from an expert on anything we're talking about here. I'm an experiencer and I'm a curious guy and I'm trying to understand this so that I can help more people effectively, but also just my natural curiosity is, I just can't think about anything else. This stuff is huge.
Real quick though,
part of that,
Slider's got a great point, man. I almost believe, if you bump into a Shambro, if anybody in this space tells you they're an expert, run the fuck away from them as fast as you can. We had Troy from Awaken Your Soul on here last week. He'll be the first guy to tell you. I mean, hell, the Dalai Lama would probably be the first guy to tell you, like, hey, man, I'm still trying to figure all this shit out. So if you're seeking medicine or any of this stuff, and stay away from Shambros who tell you that they know it all, because the more I dig into this work, the more I realize I don't even come close to knowing or understanding. So I'm glad that's a warning and caution. We call it in NATOPS. Like, hey, man, anybody who says, oh, I'm an expert at this shit, first of all, hide your wallet, and second of all, run.
Yeah, great advice, dude. To really understand everything around this, you need to be an expert in about 10 different disciplines, so I don't think there really is a true expert. There are people who've been working with the medicine for a long time. They know how to do it safely. Yeah, absolutely. But as far as understanding all this stuff, I'm reading this book right now, I can't see that, Reality Switch Technologies. Nobody understands this stuff completely. It is a whole new frontier. Let's pile on the USS Enterprise and
boldly go where nobody's gone before, man. Yeah.
Except that they have
correct,
for thousands of years. We know this. But anyway, the reason I went on all that is to make this point. As people come to us, actually, I'll give you a vignette. A guy I know well, he's one of my students in the F-14, came to me a couple of years ago and said, hey, man, I listened to your podcast and, I'm struggling with some stuff. And his deal was he just had crippling anxiety. And he intimated that, he actually had that on his way into the service. The service just made it worse.
Exactly.
And he hit it because just like everyone else who ends up in one of those cockpits, you want it bad and you'll do what it takes. Right.
Correct.
So he ended up there, he gets out and, at that point, I was very aware of Ibogaine. I really didn't know a whole lot else. And so I talked to him about all that. And he did his reading and he researched this, and he went ahead and did an at-home ketamine therapy.
Okay.
I think it was through Mind Bloom. It's like, 6 sessions. Mm-hmm. You screen with a doctor on a Zoom call. They send you the ketamine, and then you get on a Zoom and you get yourself in the medicine, and they do therapy. Yeah. It kind of opens you up. And ketamine at a low dose has some psychedelic-like effects. At a higher dose, it's a dissociative anesthetic, right? This isn't an entheogen.
Correct.
This isn't so it's a different thing. He had great results, and I check in with him occasionally. He said it's been pretty durable.
Awesome.
So, here we are at one extreme with the Ibogaine, which is for deep trauma. This is for for operators and, guys who've really seen some rough stuff.
And girls.
And then the ketamine, and girls, and girls too. Sorry, ladies. Yep. I would say the ketamine's probably on the other end of that. I mean, it's readily available. It's legal. It's, not mind blowing. You don't have to go for a week to figure out what the hell just happened to you. So there's this whole spectrum of modalities that are useful in treating the kind of stuff we're talking about: PTSD, depression, anxiety, all that stuff.
Yep.
And, since we nailed down the two tails there's a lot of stuff in the middle. I got real interested in that because I want to be able to help people the right way. So when they come to you and describe what they're trying to treat, you need to select the correct modality, right, or the most optimal modality. And I think, sometimes a guy needs a big wallop up front. Ibogaine's the big daddy, as we are acutely aware.
Yes.
And it's been a couple of years. When did we film the documentary?
Jan of 22, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So like a year and a half coming up. I think I'm ready for a touch up or
knock the rust off. Yeah.
Yeah. The Ibogaine is very durable. It looks to me like it's probably the most durable. But it doesn't last forever. Integration is very, very hard work, and it's a lifelong pursuit. And so a little bump every once in a while is helpful. But, to do an Ibogaine treatment, I mean, there's travel, there's hotel rooms. It's, while it's inexpensive relative to traditional treatments, it's, it's a little chunk of money, right? And all that stuff. So as I went and read about these other medicines, ayahuasca came up. And, there's ayahuasca's, it's an interesting one. I would put it in the middle of the spectrum, maybe a little more towards the Ibogaine end, but it's middle-ish. Some ayahuasca enthusiasts, particularly if they haven't experienced other medicines, may get mad with me. And I've got a pretty funny story about that. My ayahuasca taught me a lesson.
Oh boy!
In my last session a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
But I'm going to stick to my guns on this. An ayahuasca ceremony is not of the magnitude of an Ibogaine or an Iboga treatment. It's it's a 24-hour thing. Integration around it is important and all that stuff. But as far as completely blowing your mind and having you wonder for months afterwards what the heck just happened, it's not as extreme as the Ibogaine.
Talk to me about time, because you and I maybe Ibogaine 10, 12, 14 hours kind of in it. What's when are you dogfighting? How long are you dogfighting ayahuasca?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we say, 12-ish hours for the Ibogaine, but I mean, there's no, you don't fall off a cliff.
Yeah, you don't.
It's over.
Exactly.
It goes on for months.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the Ibogaine kind of hangs around for months.
True.
And not that you're impaired, but I mean, there's this glow that comes with it.
And in the Ibogaine, man, I had no sense of time. I remember at one point going, my God, this has been forever. And then I opened my eyes and it felt like God snapped his fingers and it went from we took it and the sun was up. So I guess people who are new to this kind of want a time thing, but I don't need it, because when you're in it, you're in it. You
don't care.
Exactly.
It's not particularly relevant.
True.
I've done 4 ayahuasca circles now. We drank twice in each of them. I waved off on my second round in my 4th circle, and we can talk about that. It's interesting. So, you drink a little bit. So my ayahuasca, does what's called a loading dose. So there's an MAO inhibitor in there, and I think we'll probably talk more about all that later. But you take a small loading dose and you sit for about 30 minutes, and that gets the MAOI kind of working a little bit. And what that does is it slows down the metabolism of the DMT, which is the psychoactive molecule in there, and it makes it last longer. So if you just ate some, chacruna, which is the DMT containing ingredient in ayahuasca. It really wouldn't do anything. Metabolically, it would take a while to get in, and as soon as it gets in, you're metabolizing it quickly. And maybe you'd feel a little something for a bit, but it wouldn't be a big healing experience. So you take a little dose, you get that MAI in your system, and a little bit of DMT, and then you wait half an hour, you drink the big dose. Again, I'll save that for the second half, but you drink the big dose. It comes on slowly. I'd say about half an hour before you're really at the peak experience.
Okay.
The first time I went to a circle, I went in with cautiously, and this particular ayahuasca era, when you come up for your sacrament, it says, give me a number from 1 to 10. I went 4, and she went, well, you've experienced, you probably handle that more. And I'm like, I also have a healthy respect for these things.
Exactly. So, I was shooting love all over the room. That's me.
Right. Yeah, correct. So, I asked her for a 4.
Yeah.
And you know how I am. I brought my watch into the ceremony, which you probably shouldn't do. And I kept checking. I went, okay, I'm 45 minutes in, and these are my effects.
That's the engineer in you, man. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, you kind of need to leave that out. And I didn't do that the second time. But it looked to me like the peak experience hits you in about half an hour. Okay. I'd say maybe hour and a half to 2 hours. You become aware that the intensity is definitely significantly down, but that kind of lingers on for, a couple to several hours afterwards. Okay. If you take a higher dose or you take a second dose, which is typical, some circles will do 3 doses. Each one compounds the one before it. And so it can end up, our last circle, I think we drank at around 7:30 p.m.
Okay.
At 4:30 in the morning, I felt like I could work on going to sleep. Okay. But I was still a little trippy. So, it's variable. It depends on the dose.
Okay. Awesome. So talk to us about the experience, because from what I hear, again, not an ayahuasca guy, sounds like Ibogaine is a very inner experience. And I've heard you tell us ayahuasca is more of an outer experience. That's how I've heard it. Is that true? Yes, no, maybe.
There's some truth to that. I think with the ayahuasca, it's a little bit of both. Mm-hmm. And I'll attempt to explain that. With the Ibogaine, the external world is completely irrelevant, and you put your mask on and, you go explore.
Yeah. One man luge. Yep.
Through the inner pathways. Yeah. The interesting thing about ayahuasca is, nobody does this by themselves. I mean, you wouldn't just sit with a guide and just do this. I mean, I guess you could. I think that would take away from the experience. Ayahuasca, there is an outward component, and it's really interesting because, I've had 6 to 8 people in the circles I've participated in, and you know me, I am not prone to embracing fruity tooty pseudoscience hippy dippy bullshit. I'm like, okay, I want to understand this.
Yeah.
I will tell you that there is a connection.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just an enhancement of a connection that's always there, and we aren't particularly aware of it in our thoughts, but or maybe it opens up channels that aren't there. I don't know. I'm trying to figure this out, but I can tell you that I am very aware of everyone else in the circle. I can tell you during my first experience, I had my eyes closed, and I just kind of asked myself, can I feel the person to my left? Can I feel the person to my right? Can I feel the person across from me, and all that stuff? And the answer is most definitely I could.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, I don't know how I'd set such an experiment up, but I'd like to sit in a circle with an unknown number of people, mm-hmm. and then be asked during the peak experience, how many people are in the circle?
Yeah. Okay.
I bet it'd be close, if not spot on. The other thing is that you become very synced up. So ayahuasca, unlike Ibogaine, very much comes in waves. Mm. A wave will hit, it'll be, I'm guessing 15 minutes, 10 minutes, I don't know, something like that. And then it'll kind of pass, and there'll be a little bit of a lull in the experience. And then all of a sudden, whoa, here comes another wave. Each wave has a different flavor to it. You know, some waves are, for me at least, again, I'm speaking only for myself, some waves are joyful. You know, you laugh. Sometimes you have these insights that are, you know, master of the obvious, and you laugh because you're like, well, no kidding. And it seems so profound on the ayahuasca, but afterwards you go, well, I knew that.
Duh.
Why did I need the ayahuasca? But well, you know, all of this is about getting back to yourself.
Correct.
You know, there's a lot of noise in our lives, a lot of noise in your thoughts, and you know, sometimes you need this reset. You got to go, okay, what's important? You know, so some waves are joyful, some waves are tearful. So some waves I experienced tremendous grief over events in my life or choices I made or pain that I've caused or, you know, whatever it is. And you cry your eyes out. And you just don't know what you get from wave to wave. But what I've noticed after a few circles here is the circles tend to get synced up, particularly with the people on either side of you or across, which is a weird thing. I mean, you're proximate to these people, but there's something with being on center line too, because the person across the circle. And I've noticed that the sync happens, and of course it propagates around the circle. And you know, there seems to be some correlation with the nature of the waves as they come. And I'm not trying to suggest that people are synced up in their waves in the time domain, but there's something there, man. Yeah,
energy.
You're definitely feeling other people, no doubt. And I saw one time when a woman who had just astoundingly deep history of traumatic experiences, I mean, she's really suffering. She got in there, and you know, I discussed this the next day with other participants. We could feel her re-experiencing her pain. I mean, and she was quiet initially. Yeah. We could all feel her. We're like, whoa, something just changed. And I noticed a couple, you know, I opened my eyes and a couple of us were looking at each other like something changed. And a minute later, this woman screamed bloody murder. Wow. Like Slider on his first toad. Like, just what? And it was, I mean, I almost jumped out of my skin. I mean, somebody else across from me started screaming for,
oh my God.
Like, hey, you're not going anywhere. Yeah. And, you know, again, I don't know what the science is behind this. You know, what's the neuroscience? What's the psychology? Are there waves of energy being transferred? Is this through, you know, the Higgs field? You know, I mean, I don't know.
Exactly.
But there's something.
Whoa.
Yeah. So there you go.
Holy shit, man. All right. So after doing Ibogaine, because it sounds like you did some deep cleansing and some deep healing. So you re-experienced some of that stuff on the ayahuasca. So talk to me through that. Like, how did you re-experience it? Was it still as traumatic or anything, or?
No, I mean, I've come a long way. I mean, 2 Ibogaine treatments and, you know, some really dedicated deep work you know, as part of my daily routine.
Correct.
You know, I've come a long way. So, you know, I think even if I went and did the Ibogaine, it would be very different for me now.
Of course.
I suspect.
Of course.
The way you interact with these things you carry around in the ayahuasca is very different in the Ibogaine. When I talked about in that first experience, how as I came up the front side of the peak experience, I had a moment where the truth of all things was revealed to me in a blinding flash of light, which, by the way, I've been doing a lot of work on NDEs. That is a very common element of an NDE, near-death experience.
Near-death experience, yep.
Which is crazy. So, you know, this, at least in my mind, adds credence to this idea that, you know, this consciousness will persist beyond death.
Yep.
I mean, there's, you know.
Amen.
I know this to be true, but I'm trying to be a little bit scientific. Yeah. So with the ayahuasca, you know, we talk about the Iboga is grandfather, right? That this is the stern male.
Yeah. Loves you, very strong, but stern.
Very ancient, very stern, very powerful. And in no way am I going to tell you that ayahuasca isn't powerful. I mean, it is. But it is a feminine there's a feminine feel to it. They talk about the spirit of the rainforest where this stuff comes from. It's a beautiful, plant oriented, womanly or feminine feeling spirit. Now, as we both know, and I love your wife, Susie. A woman can be hard on you.
No,
ayahuasca's certainly no exception. But it's different, man. Let me start with the visuals. So, with my first Ibogaine experience, I went to the IMAX theater for about 10 hours.
Correct.
Visually, ayahuasca is not like that.
Wow. Okay.
It was not IMAX ultra high def. It's not. And you see things clearly, but they tend to be very soft.
Okay.
More gentle. Now there is suffering. I mean, I certainly suffered in the last circle with a really wallop of a dose. It was difficult. But the visuals, at least, are softer. You see a lot of swirling colors, a lot of soft, images. Out of this swirling stuff, I have repeatedly, and I've checked with other folks in the circles, they see this too. Out of these swirling colors, you kind of get these images of spirits. I would say they're always feminine. And they're beautiful. I mean, they're ethereal. They're, like a modern movie might depict a spirit. Remember Poltergeist or something like that as things.
Or no, wait, hold on. Raiders of the Lost Ark, when the spirits are kind of flying around before they melt the Nazis' faces
when
off.
They bust the Ark open.
Exactly.
Yeah, except these aren't like scary skull faces that make your skin melt off. No, these are there to be helpful, and they're beautiful, and
okay.
It's nice. And there's some comfort in that, and each one delivers a message of some sort to you, just like with the Ibogaine. It's not verbal. You don't see their mouth moving, but there's a message when they appear. They have a message for you. It's really cool visually. Emotionally, with the Ibogaine, I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to laugh. I was just there experiencing.
Yeah.
With the ayahuasca, your emotions are all over the place.
Wow.
You're wide open.
Okay.
Think of, maybe MDMA times 10.
Whoa. Okay.
Of course, with MDMA, people tend to have very positive, loving experiences. The ayahuasca can go either way.
True.
So,
okay.
Just try to tie it to something you may or may not be familiar with.
Maybe.
Yeah, but it's very different like that. And the emotions are powerful. And I can tell you at the end of each wave, I found that I experienced gratitude for the clarity of the message I received. And, I'll give you some examples from my last experience. One was the importance of your family. And I mean your biological family. I have a great family where we have our dysfunction just like everybody else does. And
of course,
we annoy each other but we love each other, so much that doesn't matter.
Correct.
And any day you could have walked up to me and asked me how important my family is. And I would have said, wicked important. But that is very different than this wave I had that was all about my family. It is powerful. I mean, the importance of my family was just driven home to me. I mean, it just bumped it all the way up to one.
To the thing.
The thing, and
wow.
I don't know. I got to chew on that for a while. I mean, are there more important things? Is your relationship with God more important? Or are you
God is family.
Relationship with
it's all
correct. Are you experiencing the relationship with a larger family? Because
there you go. God,
the creator, the source, whatever you want. One of the messages I got at a previous circle was God is our father. Well, duh. But again,
duh.
It's different. It was no, like literally the father of my soul.
Yes. Yeah. Wow.
I mean, it's big. When I felt that, I went, oh, shit, man, this is much bigger than I was thinking. I mean, much bigger. So you have these insights. here's another insight. And, I alluded to that the ayahuasca era, taught me a little bit of a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I had the word lesson in my mind. I don't know. But one of the waves I had was about the teacher.
Okay.
And I'll get to what the teacher is in a second. But the insight most easily put into words was the teacher is going to do teacher things. The teacher's going to teach. I am the pupil.
Mm-hmm.
I do not get to decide when the lesson's over. This isn't that kind of teacher. The teacher is going to teach your ass. And, if your life is painful, if you're struggling all the time, that's because you're in the middle of a lesson.
Ooh.
If you want to get the lesson right and move on to the next lesson to get some relief, be a better pupil. Right. And when I experienced that, it was huge, and the next day I talked about it in our after circle, where we go around to discuss. And, as I said the words, I went, duh, life's a teacher. You got to learn your lessons. No shit. But this was bigger than that.
You felt it though. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of knowing it, it was an experience. There's a difference between knowledge and experience. You felt it.
An important distinction. And if you haven't had a profound medicine experience, it's very hard to understand.
Exactly.
That. But if you're listening to this, just trust us. It's different.
You feel it. Yeah.
And then I had to dive down into the weeds on it. Well, where's the classroom? Well, the classroom is this physical reality.
This construct, man. Yeah.
Is the teacher God? Is the teacher life? Do you need to separate the two? I mean, yeah.
The answer is yes.
Maybe an individual life is a course. Hey, I'm taking, physics 11 here.
Human 101.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you fit that, that into the analogy so much, but it's very clear that I'm the pupil. And if I want my life to be better, I should be a really good pupil. So that's my advice to everyone. Mm-hmm. Every experience you have is teaching you something. It's not always obvious, but spend some time each day going, what were my lessons today?
Yeah.
What can I carry into tomorrow so that I can get some different lessons? Because you know how much we hate to repeat a class.
Yes, exactly. I don't want to get it down on this flight, man. I don't want to refly.
Right. And then you take it to, during this lifetime, how many times am I going to have to revisit this lesson? But the same is true on a grander scale, particularly if you subscribe to the Vedic viewpoint, that we're going to keep being reincarnated. We're going to have life after life until we get this stuff figured out.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I am grateful for my life. I have an amazing life. I'm living an amazing life. It's a wonderful thing. But I'll tell you what, I don't want some future incarnation to have to go through the shit I went through. Like, let's move on to something
with me.
else, okay?
Yeah, I'm breaking.
I hope so.
Yeah, I'm breaking that chain.
Yeah, and we've talked about that with generational trauma. Same thing. Let's break these chains. Let's move on. Let's get to the next thing. Let's ascend in our eternal evolution.
I love it, bro. Now, one of the reasons and you brought up my beautiful bride because she's got a problem with this as well. So allay our fears or confirm them. I've looked into some ayahuasca places, and dude, when they build in purging on the flight schedule, I don't want to fucking do that, dude. I'm no Phi Beta Epsilon. I don't want no full body explosion, man. And unlike Bart, the fucking giraffe on ice skates, or even I think Bart was our Bart.
That was Bart knocking the IV over.
Farting
and rolling around
and purging. So did you purge? Do you purge? Why is it built into the flight schedule, dude? I ain't good about no full body explosions. Don't sign me up for that.
Okay, so an element of gratitude is that I am not a puker.
Yeah, all right.
Or a shitter. Yeah, I felt no inclination to puke or anything like that. Somebody else, we had one first timer in this circle. Couple pairs of pants were ruined. And, there's always a few people puking. I'm sorry, purging.
Yes, purging. Yeah.
Here's an interesting thing. Oh God, we got so much to talk about, Whiz. It's the MAOI that upsets your stomach.
Okay.
Now, the MAOI is, brewed into the ayahuasca. I find myself wondering if there's other ways to introduce an MAOI. There's something called pharmahuasca, which I might get us off topic, but you can, introduce these chemicals.
Well, you're the guy to figure this shit out, man. So take this for action. You'd be the guy. I need to introduce you to, or if you're thinking about knocking the rust off, maybe we get you down to Awaken, because you got to meet Troy Valencia. This guy he's going through his doctoral studies. So you and I have talked often about, here's the anecdotal stories of Slider and I and everybody else. And then on the right side of the bridge are the dudes and the ladies in lab coats and beakers trying to, does this bridge meet? You know me, I believe there's a big question mark in the middle, and that's God. And it ain't going to let those two things meet. But if anybody's going to figure out the molecule that purges and causes you to shit your pants is this, maybe we can remove it, would be you. So take that for action.
Yeah, the answer is that you can. And as you are well aware, I'm well down the road on figuring a lot of this stuff out. By the way, great podcast with Troy the other day. As you're aware, somebody very close to me was at that thing. So I heard a lot about it.
Beautiful
what
soul.
A great dude. Yeah, I need to get down there. Yeah, very, very intelligent, well-educated, and soulful human being there. There are others like that out there. Some are more chemists, some are more psychopharmacologists, some are psychologists, and again, there's many disciplines to pull together. You touched on something there, though, briefly, is coming at this from different sides. I very much believe, and I didn't make this up, I'm sure I heard it somewhere, but, the search for enlightenment, understanding what we are, what is this life about? What's our eternal reality? That I call that the search for enlightenment. Religion is working its way up one side of that mountain. Science is working its way up the other side. I think we're going to find a 5,000-year-old guru sitting cross-legged at the top going, what took you guys so long?
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think we're nearing the summit, man. I do, especially with recent advances in quantum physics and stuff. Some of these things that the Gnostics experienced, that the Vedas experienced and wrote about for 4,000 years ago.
Yep.
All of a sudden, that mystical, primitive hoodoo voodoo shit is
Yep.
Their understanding of it was different because they didn't know what an atom was.
Correct.
But I think we're getting there.
Yeah.
Which is pretty awesome. I'm glad to be here.
And they didn't have any light pollution, and they could sit under the stars and look up. I can't even imagine what they would see. I'm glad you brought that up, man, because walking the halls of Congress and trying to change attitudes and brief some of our, quote, leaders on this shit, it's really interesting that they're like, well, studies and this and that. I'm like, I get it, dude. But the medicine woman or man in the middle of the Amazon would be like fucking lab coat, beaker, and an Excel sheet. Are you kidding me? This is thousands of years. I can walk around this forest and heal your body with, I'll point at shit that will heal you. I get it here in the West, but it is kind of funny that, I hope you're right, that we're getting very close to the summit, because I think we're kind of showing up to this party a little late, right? I mean, Nicole,
thousands
Troy.
Thousands of years late.
Yeah, thousands of years late. They go to Gabon, and these folks couldn't be happier. And it's like, oh my God, they're so poor and everything like that. Like, who the fuck do you think you're? A nice ego, right? So I think we're showing up late, but hopefully it's right in time, right? You know me, man, the freaking war in Ukraine or China, Taiwan or Israel, Iran, or fucking inflation and Trump and Biden. It's like, it's stifling, but the rise of what you and I are doing, and we're trying to, if people were healed, this world would be just such an incredible place. So along those lines, because the Ibogaine for me, man, had I'm in it still, right? It had a tail.
Oh, yeah.
What's the tail of ayahuasca, so to speak? What's the shelf life, half-life? Give us that, what to expect after you land.
It's not as long as Ibogaine. I'll tell you that. It seems to be a function of your dose.
Okay.
To some extent. I'm certainly enjoying more of a glow coming off of this one, which is a very high dose.
Well,
again,
tell us about this one
3D.
before you forget. Your last is this your last circle? I got last circle ? I'm not going to let you go without
Last circle, yeah.
Yeah. What happened? Lay it on me.
Oh yeah. I'll tell you about that. It lasts for some weeks.
Okay.
If you're real focused on integration, maybe you're more aware of the tail of the glow. I mean, there's no 3dB, knee where you go, okay, that's where we're, it's very gradual.
Okay.
So hard to answer is my answer.
I get that. Okay. That makes total sense to me.
Do you remember the lovely Ava who fed us all that wonderful food down in at
Mission
the Mission Within?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was great. I talked to her a lot. She drank ayahuasca over 60 times.
Dude, I'm so glad you brought that up, that we're talking about ayahuasca, because after doing Ibogaine and Iboga, and I'm like, oh shit, well, I do ayahuasca. I'm like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. And they're like, yeah, I've done it like 60 times. I'm like, my face exploded. I'm like, oh my God, right. What the fuck? Are you people insane? Until I started hearing about it, I'm like, oh, there's no fucking way on God's green earth. Or the toad. Could you imagine? So
yeah, I'm probably good on the toad.
Yeah, I'm good for the rest of my life, bro. You and me both. We are. That was a one and done, man.
It's a lot. I've done it a few times now, but I'm good. I needed to get over my fear of going supersonic. I still fear it, but I've been supersonic a couple times now. I'm good. I don't need
we respect the speed of sound as aviators. We are respecting that, dude. It ain't something to be trifle about.
Yeah, you don't want to rip your wings off and all that stuff.
Exactly.
But I thought 60 was crazy. I'm like, 60 times, like, you're hardcore. Guess what? In the ayahuasca world, that's very normal. My ayahuasca, she trained under a practitioner of the Santo Daime tradition, which is a Brazilian. It's an interesting mix of Christianity and indigenous spirituality. I guess I would call it. I won't try to speak too much on that, but she was trained in that tradition. Mm-hmm. Her teacher was a hereditary ayahuasca going back many hundreds of years.
Wow.
He made her drink 300 times before he gave her a blessing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it took years.
Holy shit.
Yeah, no kidding. So she knows the medicine quite well.
Wow.
And there's some responsibility. I mean, if you're pouring medicine like this, I mean, you have an obligation to do so responsibly and provide proper support and all this stuff. Yeah. Let me just say, I hope this goes without saying, but this is not a, hey, I know you can get us some ayahuasca. Let's go fuck around on Saturday night.
No.
Do not do that.
No.
I beg you, don't do that.
No.
You need to be with responsible people. We always say set and setting and all this. I mean, that is just very, very important. But,
or do it. And you're going to learn a lesson. So listen to us and don't do it. We have SOPs, folks, and SOPs are written in blood. This is one of them. You can go do it, but fucking be prepared because as Slider alluded to, or didn't allude to, he actually said you're a pupil, and you're gonna learn a lesson if you show up to class thinking you're cool.
Yeah, so you want to hear about this last one?
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting story. It's not spraying love around the room, but it's a little bit of lesson for someone who's coming into this, which is, like I said, the first time I drank, I went and I kneeled in front of the ayahuasca, and she gave me the blessing and said, give me a number from 1 to 10. I said 4. She said, well, you're kind of an experienced psychonaut. Now that I've been in this world more, I don't think I'm terribly experienced. I mean, I guess to the lay person, I would be, or you would be.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people way ahead of us. I said, well, I just want to go easy. I know we're going to have a second round. I want to calibrate my,
I want to get a line.
Calibrate my gauge here. And,
my INS.
And then we're going to select the right amount of thrust, right? So I did my 4. And it was good. I mean, I had an ayahuasca experience. I cried a little. I laughed a little. It was very tolerable. It was, again, having been through Ibogaine, I didn't feel like it was a big deal. And my mistake is I kept coming back to, this isn't that big a deal. Second one, I said, all right, let's go 9, knowing that I already had some in me, and so she gave me a bigger dose. It made a big difference. I definitely had a deeper, more powerful experience, but it was nice to me. Relative to my other experiences, it was pretty mild. So I got it in my head that, ayahuasca is mild and, it's not that big a deal. It's kind of light. And I talk about, I'm here for dust off again, so second circle, kind of same thing. I don't remember what my numbers were, but they were, I did ask for a 10. I think I asked for a 10 in the second circle. Third circle, I just can't remember. Fourth circle, which was my most recent one, she had a new brew.
Okay.
Now, from batch to batch to batch, brews vary quite a bit. It depends where you get your vine from. What was last summer like? There's so many factors in this stuff. And there's, ayahuasqueros are not going to a lab with a mass spectrometer and determining their, composition. I mean, they just follow the traditional formulas.
And they feel spirit, right? I mean, they, as experienced medicine folks, they feel spirit. It's flowing through them.
Yeah, correct. And she said, I didn't ask her if she had taken a full dose herself. They always do take some medicine.
They got to tune in
too. That helps them. Yeah, they're not taking as big a dose as everybody else. And there's music. I skipped all that. The music sound is a really big factor in all this stuff. And there's singing and rhythm and all that stuff. But she knew it was a strong brew. So when I came up this time, this is now the third time that before the circle, I said, I'm here for a dust off and a little touch up. And, and I don't think she was trying to mess with me. She understood that my tolerance for this stuff is very high. Mm-hmm. And, when I went up there, I said 11. And she went, "Are you sure?" I said, "Let's go 11."
He asked for the Spinal Tap. This one goes to 11.
Right, but it's still just all the way up.
It's
yes,
one louder.
Go to 11. Yeah, this one actually was an additional volume set.
It was actually 11. Yes.
So it was definitely 11. So I knock this thing back and I go back to my spot and I close my eyes. I'll listen to the music and wait for it to come on. And I'm reminded of my Ibogaine experience at the Mission Within, which was a full dose right up front, unlike Ambio where they kind of stage it in. Yeah. And that hit me like a wallop, it's just like, holy crap. As it was coming on, I'm like, did I fuck this up? I might have fucked this up. Oh shit, I'm committed now. I mean, there's nothing you can do. Nope. I'm like, well, I guess I could puke it out. No. And I'm like,
the only way through it is through it.
Eagle guy?
Oh my God, man.
I'm not an eagle guy. I can handle this.
Exactly.
Sorry, Sledge.
Oh my God.
But yeah, it came on, dude. And I'll tell you what, my ass was kicked right up front. And, there's this thing with the ayahuasca where sometimes you feel very heavy. And I've looked around the circle and I know I'm going like this.
Yeah.
And I look around the circle and other people are doing that. It's not just me.
Okay.
This one, I was like ready to fall over and melt into the floor or something. I was like, holy shit.
Whoa.
Like this. And occasionally I realize I'm like, bad posture probably isn't helping. I would sit up and put my hands on my knees and try to align my spine and all that. And a couple minutes later, I'm like, ah.
Oh my God.
The intensity of the visuals, the intensity of the psycho-emotional experience, the intensity of the spiritual experience, the sense that I was somehow communicating with some other realm, the spirit world or another dimension. I mean, I don't know, whatever. That was very strong. My connection to the rest of the circle, extra strong. So your dose seems to be a volume control on all of that. So just call it broadly intensity.
Yeah.
It was a lot, dude. And I would say for the first, I think I said hour to 2 hours. I mean, I was very much on a peak experience. And I remembered the previous circles where after a while I was like, I felt like opening my eyes more. I wasn't hanging over as much. sitting up, kind of becoming more aware of things around me. And, by 2 or just 3 hours, whenever we had the second drink, I was ready for another drink. I would say on this one, as she started calling people up for the second round, I was as deep in the experience still from one drink as I was during my peak experience on the second drink in my previous circle.
Okay.
I mean, my world was rocked. And she said, Mark, and I was like,
I'm good.
Yeah. I'm going to be right here.
Yeah.
And I stayed there. And, as everyone else's experience came up, I kind of went back there with them.
Okay.
It's almost as if I was dragged by gravity or something. And maybe it was the change in the music or so. I don't know, Whiz. I don't know, but I had a second experience without ingesting more medicine. And, and then we go outside as everyone's coming off that second one. We all went outside. We had to start a fire outside and sat around. In the previous ones, we've sat around the fire pit and, said prayers and stuff. There's not a lot of talking at this point. We're still just experiencing. Our eyes are open now. The stars are beautiful and clouds.
Yeah.
Well, I remember the first time I kept seeing dog faces. Like every cloud looked like a different kind of German Shepherd. There's a Saint Bernard, and they were all happy and it was cool. This time we went outside, man, and I stood there with my mouth hanging open, probably drooling on the tops of my feet, just staring in wonder at the moon. There was a full moon, which would kick us pretty hard, and some light wispy clouds coming by, which are conducive to your brain making images out of them. And I saw faces and spirits, and they were all very happy and sending me love. And I looked at the stars. Every few minutes I would turn 45 degrees and look at a different piece of the sky. I mean, this went on for hours. I didn't talk to anyone. At one point I went, oh my God, I'm so freaking dry. I'm about to blow away. And I asked, there's a guardian there who's a very low dose of medicine. They're the responsible person there. And I asked her, I said, correct. And, there's usually multiple guardians. This was a smaller circle, but, I said, hey, if I drink water right now, what's going to happen? And like, you might puke it right back up. And I'm like, better than die in a dehydration.
Got to do it.
I was so dry. So I knocked some water back, and dude, like 15 seconds later, I was like, that just kicked it into high gear again.
Oh, wow.
I did not puke, but I mean, I wandered around until 4 a.m, just going,
whoa,
woo, holy crap. That was a big one. So,
holy shit.
Of all my experiences with ayahuasca, I probably got the most out of this one.
Wow.
I did. Just the depth of each wave. It was just more. And I walked away really good, man. And that was a week ago.
Okay.
I've spent every day kind of reviewing the insights I had and asking myself, well, how do I put this into practice? And, that's what you got to do after these things. So,
dude, I love it, man. So it goes to 11. It can go to 11.
It does go to 11. And, I kept talking about, I was talking to them about, just regular DMT, which that's a whole nother thing. Go on YouTube and, DMT experience, you go to another dimension, and it's very different than DMT with the ayahuasca. By the way, DMT is in all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
DMT is all around you.
DMT is in your body.
You probably have, you have plants in your yard that produce DMT. You produce DMT. I mean, it's everywhere, but there are different ways to experience. And there are other medicines with DMT in them. I talked about going to other realms, and these people looked at me like, yeah, you go to other realms. Yeah. You do.
Yeah.
You do. I certainly wouldn't want to take a bigger dose than that. And I was not completely transported to another realm like I might be with just straight DMT. But, expressing that outwardly was, I think, the impetus for being taught a lesson.
Oh, my God, bro.
So respect the DMT.
Respect.
We're going to go for... Respect. You're going to go to a realm. You are going to communicate. There's entities. I don't know how to explain that, but respect it.
Buckle up, folks. That's the two words. Well, folks, dude, clearly we're gonna have to have another Slider couple episodes here, man. We're getting the band back together because this is pretty cool, bro. I appreciate you sharing your story. Hey, before I forget, get your brother, man, Jake, on board. I mean, when I'm walking the halls of Congress, I meet with a couple Navy SEALs. We got to get our aviators in Congress on board this stuff. I mean, Morgan Luttrell's cool. He's like, duh, I did it. I'm leading the charge. I met with Commander Zinke, Congressman Zinke, another Navy SEAL. They're both like, fuck yeah, man. So we talk to your brother Jake, man. Let's get our aviator representatives on board with this stuff because you know as well as I do, brother, we're losing guys and gals every day, and I get crawl, walk, run, but this stuff is needed. So
I think the key to getting and Jake's a great guy.
Yeah.
Great personal friend, old squadron bro. We've been through some crazy shit together, including being on fire on a catapult in tension and all this stuff. He knows my story. He absolutely understands that this stuff has been great for me. And he's very supportive of that. Some of these guys, it depends what district they're from.
Oh, I get it.
Dan Crenshaw's, a Houston guy.
Yeah.
Jake is, more rural, like very conservative.
I get it.
Super. And so the way to help him to come around and being openly supportive of this is to educate his constituents.
Exactly. Well, you know me, man. I keep saying this is
talk about this stuff.
This is a we the people moment because when I'm on the hill and talking to folks, I'm like, lead, follower, get out of the way. We're doing this. It's clear they're not going to lead essentially, but you and me doing podcasts like this, doing the medicine, putting down the ladder to help save and change lives. They're stuck in lag. We're leading right now, and I appreciate it, bro. I appreciate you leading on this stuff, man. You're doing good work. So, all right, folks, I got to get going. We'll have Slider back, clearly. Sticky Booger, Tomcat guy, and a Hornet guy. So, all right, folks, have a great rest of your day. Happy hunting. Make sure you hedge. Fights on. Namaste and basi basi. We'll see you next time.